before Steve Rogers became so strong and powerful that he could hold a helicopter with his bare hands and fight one-on-one against the greatest threat in the entire universe. He was once a smaller and weaker man, and in Captain America the First Avenger, we have Steve's first fight before taking the super soldier serum. It's just a simple fight scene in an alley against a bully who was showing disrespect to the people who were in the war fighting or helping in other ways. However, what makes it so special is that it shows that even when facing a stronger enemy against all odds, Steve will always stand up to the bullies and never back down. After all,
I can do this all day.
now, before we jump to Captain America the Winter Soldier, which has mind-blowing fight scenes including this one, in 2012's Avengers, Captain America teams up with Thor, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Hulk, and Iron Man to defend the planet from an invasion by an alien race called the Chitauri, who were being led by Loki. And during the Battle of New York, we not only get a great fight scene of Captain America against several enemies, but we also learn that he's a great leader whose orders in combat should be taken seriously. Well, us and that guy too.
You need men in these buildings. Why the hell should I take orders from you? I need men in those buildings.
Now it's time. Let's talk about Captain America the Winter Soldier. The movie barely starts and we already have this phenomenal fight scene between Captain America and a mercenary named Batroc the Leaper. Captain America, now considered a beloved hero after the events of the previous two movies, leads a mission to rescue hostages held by Batroc's mercenaries on a ship. And when he comes face to face with Batroc himself, that's when we have this incredible fight scene that shows a clear evolution in the fight choreography of this movie compared to the previous two. And Batroc even offers some resistance at first, but then he decides to play with his luck and says this.
Croyais que tu étais plus qu'un bouclier.
After that, we have one of the best fight scenes of the movie. The reason this scene is so good is because it comes right after Steve Rogers discovers that S.H.I.E.L.D., the organization he worked for and trusted, has been compromised by Hydra, a terrorist organization, and he's in an elevator surrounded by S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, who he suspects are actually Hydra agents. He's cautious and on guard, but he's still not sure who's friend or foe. The tension builds as more agents enter the elevator, with Steve becoming increasingly suspicious, until he finally realizes he can't trust no one, so he takes out everyone in there single-handedly and escapes. Now we come to one of the best fight scenes not only in this movie but in all Marvel movies. In this scene, we have Captain America against the Winter Soldier, an extremely skilled and strong fighter who has a metal arm. And there are moments in this fight that you really believe that Steve could lose, until the Winter Soldier's mask falls, he hesitates and stops the fight when Steve says his name.
Bucky?
Because when looking at his face, Steve finds out that the Winter Soldier is actually Bucky, his childhood friend. Bucky fell from an extreme height in the first movie, which made Steve believe that he was dead, when in fact he was captured, transformed into a super soldier, and brainwashed, having his mind programmed to follow Hydra commands, kind of like a Terminator. And they meet again in another badass fight scene on the helicarrier. As the ship is under attack and about to crash, you can feel the fight getting more tense.
You know me. No, I don't!
And in an unwavering act of loyalty to Bucky, Steve simply decides to drop the shield and says he won't fight his friend anymore. And then Bucky, after nearly killing him, has a moment of clarity, stops the fight, and even saves Steve from drowning when he falls unconscious into the Potomac River. Which brings us to Captain America: Civil War. In this movie, the Avengers are divided into Team Captain America and Team Iron Man. Team Iron Man agrees to the Sokovia Accords, which is a set of regulations used to govern superheroes, and Team Captain America opposes the accords, arguing that they infringe on individual freedoms and could hinder their ability to protect people. In addition to that, Captain America wants to protect and find a way to fully cure Bucky and also stop the villain Baron Helmut Zemo. They believe that Zemo's plan was to find other super soldiers and, in Captain America's own words, watch an empire fall. But later, we find out that his motivation was actually revenge against the Avengers. That's the empire he was referring to, since he lost his family in the chaos caused by their fight against Ultron in Avengers: Age of Ultron. But he knew he couldn't kill him. He's just a man, and many others stronger than him tried and failed. So he made a plan to actually tear the Avengers apart from within, destroy their unity, and make them kill each other, which leads to the best fight scene of the movie, where Zemo orchestrates a final confrontation between Captain America and Iron Man by revealing to Tony information about Bucky's past when he was just a brainwashed assassin, including a video that shows his involvement in the death of Tony Stark's parents. And Tony, after watching the tape, he doesn't care if Bucky's Steve's best friend or that he was being manipulated at the time. He wants only one thing: revenge. And Tony was really determined to kill Bucky, and Captain America prevented this by damaging the arc reactor, during which he disabled Tony's armor. Now it's time to talk about Captain America's best fight scene of all time, which brings us to Avengers Endgame, and this movie follows the aftermath of Infinity War and the Avengers' desperate attempt to undo Thanos' devastating snap. And after they traveled back in time to get all the Infinity Stones to bring everyone back, an unwanted passenger hitched a ride back to the present with them and destroyed the Avengers HQ. So in the middle of the chaos, we have Thanos against Thor, Iron Man, and Captain America in a breathtaking fight scene. However, Thanos is so powerful and intelligent in combat that even in a 1v3, he starts to win the fight, and Iron Man is the first to be knocked out when Thor throws his hammer at Thanos, and he quickly realizes this and seizes the opportunity.
Boss, wake up!
Thanos is starting to get a little scary, and you can see that he's ready to kill Thor with the Stormbreaker, while laughing, a true maniac. And just when we think all hope is gone, this happens. It's impossible not to get excited about this scene. Steve Rogers was a small and weak man who all he wanted to do was to help his country during the war, but was rejected several times for being too weak. Now he's kicking the ass of one of the strongest enemies in the entire Marvel universe. Thanos then begins to react and balance the fight, and with the promise of destroying the entire world and enjoying himself while doing so, Steve fights himself alone against an entire army, but not for long.
Assemble.
Then, in a very intense war, Iron Man was able to use the Infinity Stones to destroy Thanos and his minions, but at a very high cost. And at the end of the movie, Steve is tasked with returning the Infinity Stones where they belong. So he returns them to their proper timelines, using the opportunity to also finally have his dance with Agent Carter and build a life with her in the past. Now back in the present, he has a special gift for Sam Wilson, who will follow his legacy in Captain America: Brave New World.